Welcome to the deep dive. Today we're unpacking the success habits of, well, a truly fascinating figure, Oz Pearlman, a world-leading mentalist. If you've ever seen a mentalist work and just thought, how did they know that? Or I wish I could read people like that, then yeah, this is for you. We're digging into his playbook, extracting those habits for success in, business, sales, even just personal influence.
Yeah, and it's really important we get this straight from the start. Mentalism, it's explicitly not mind reading, it's not magic, definitely not supernatural. That's just, well, impossible. What it is, fundamentally, is applied psychology. We're talking about decades, literally, of deep research into things like misdirection, suggestion, and basically reverse engineering the human mind, its glitches, its shortcuts.
Yep.
And the habits that come out of that study, the techniques that let a performer seem like they know your thoughts, those are incredibly powerful tools for anyone, for professional life, personal life, navigating tricky situations.
Absolutely. Think of it like getting a shortcut in social dynamics. We're aiming to go beyond just, basic communication tips. We want to pull out the real tactical methods he uses, stuff like reading someone's worries almost instantly or building that kind of bulletproof confidence. And the goal is translating that into steps you can actually use.
So when we talk about first impressions, success isn't about the big, obvious stuff. It really hinges on spotting those tiny, minute details, the things, frankly, 99% of people just miss. And probably the most counterintuitive thing here, but maybe the most effective, is understanding how our ancient biology, believe it or not, still runs the show in modern interactions.
Yeah, I read about that one-eye approach you mentioned. It sounds almost, well, funny at first, but it connects to a really deep primal human fear, doesn't it?
It absolutely does. It's all wired around avoiding confrontation, essentially. If you walk up to someone directly, face to face, presenting both eyes, that actually triggers a hardwired defense mechanism. It goes way back, thousands of years. It's how we recognize threats like a predator or maybe an aggressor. Two eyes locked on. That signals danger.
Right. So the takeaway, the tactical thing for you listening is when you start a conversation, especially if it's high stakes, maybe a salary negotiation or giving tough feedback, or even just approaching someone new at an event, you approach them slightly angled, just a bit off center.
Exactly. By showing just one eye, metaphorically speaking,
Right.
instead of that direct two-eye stare, you subconsciously lower their perceived threat level instantly.
Okay, so that small shift gives psychological comfort. It changes the vibe from like potential threat to just casual encounter.
Precisely. And that's crucial because the real advantage comes when you have some idea what the other person is already thinking. What are their heuristics, their mental shortcuts kicking in? When you approach a stranger, their brain instantly asks, okay, what's the real cost here? Is this a waste of my time? Do I need to put my guard up?
So the idea is to get ahead of that internal resistance. Like if I can sense their worries and maybe address them before they even say anything, that builds trust faster.
You nailed it.
Yeah.
If you're aware of those potential roadblocks, is this guy going to ask for money, or how long is this going to take? Thoughts, you gain a huge psychological edge. And look, this even connects to the performance stuff. When a mentalist seems to guess a card someone picked or knows a name like Jules out of the blue, it's not magic. It's about carefully limiting the possibilities and then just meticulously reading the micro-expressions, the tiny behavioral tells that confirm what they're thinking internally.
It's seeing that little flicker of doubt or recognition and then adjusting what you say on the fly.
That's the art of it, yes. Okay, so moving from just reading someone to actually influencing them. The main tool here shifts from sharp observation to, honestly, intense preparation. A huge part of the mentalist success comes down to preparing for every possible outcome. We're talking plan A, plan B, C, D, all the way down to plan Z. That's the hidden structure under the performance.
Wow, plan A to Z, that sounds exhausting. But I can see how effective it would be. It means you've already thought through all the ways things could go wrong. So when something does go sideways, it's not a panic moment. It's just, okay, rolling out plan D.
Exactly right. It takes the stress out of the unexpected. But the absolute number one rule, the thing that makes all that preparation actually work, is what the sources call the golden rule of influence. And it's simple. It is never about you. It is always about them.
Okay. But I wonder, how far do you push that? If you're constantly changing your message just to fit whoever you're talking to, does that start feeling, I don't know, inauthentic?
That's a fair question. It's a balance. But the argument here isn't about being fake. It's about respecting the other person's world, their frame of reference. He talks about, say, being on CNBC. Instantly, the language shifts. It's all about finance, stocks, returns. He connects his effects to their interests. But if he's talking to pro football players, everything becomes about football. The core message might be similar, but the packaging, the way it's presented, has to resonate with them.
Got it. So shift the focus. Less, look how great I am, and more, here's how this benefits you. And you're kind of anticipating their objections, their points of resistance, and addressing them before they even fully form the question in their head.
That's exactly it. And this flows right into the specific structure he uses to actually start a conversation, using what he calls the positive curiosity gap.
Hmm.
Curiosity is powerful, you know. It gives a little dopamine hit, like checking your phone for a notification. You can leverage that.
Okay, let's break that down. This sounds like a really practical script someone could use. First step. The angled approach we talked about suggests you're not going to linger forever.
Right, that softens the entry. Then the hook. It has to be an open-ended question, something they can't just say no to. And it should spark positive intrigue. The example script is, did you hear why it's your lucky night? See? It's positive, it's intriguing, and it demands more than just a one-word answer.
That's way better than like cold outreach saying, can I tell you about my product? Maybe something like, I think I found an insight that could save you some time this week.
Precisely. And then the vital third step. You establish social value immediately. You need to head off those common objections, cost, time commitment, whatever, so the script continues. The owner brought me in as a special treat to do something amazing for you. Hey, what? In just that one sentence, look what you've done. You've shown you're legitimate, you have some authority, the owner trusts you, and crucially, it implies there's no cost to them. You've cleared away the main mental barriers in seconds. That's influence in action.
All right, let's shift gears a bit. We've talked about attention in the moment. Now let's talk about controlling memory over the long term. The Mentalist makes this point that because we all rely so much on tech now, GPS, phone contacts, password managers, having a really functional, powerful memory, that's actually become a kind of superpower, a real differentiator.
It's a fascinating paradox, isn't it? The more we outsource memory to devices, the more valuable it becomes when a human can actually recall specific, relevant details about someone. If information is power, especially personal information, then the process for holding on to it needs to be, well, pretty rigorous.
And the source material really hammers this point. You need to take notes. Immediately, ruthlessly. We're not talking about writing essays here, right? Just jotting down quick shorthand details about people you meet. Straight into your phone calendar, a notes app, whatever works, right after the conversation.
Yes, and what's really interesting is what kind of details he suggests recording. It's the small stuff, the seemingly throwaway personal details, like remembering someone's kid's age, or their favorite, maybe slightly obscure YouTube channel, or even an old ATM PIN code they mentioned once in passing, like 6124. These are the kinds of things people often share casually and then completely forget they ever told you.
Ah, so that's the moment where the magic seems to happen later on. When you bring up that specific tiny detail, maybe weeks or even months later, it creates that whoa moment, like winning the lottery almost.
It does.
And the longer the gap between hearing it and recalling it, the more powerful the impression. It shows you weren't just hearing, you were actually listening.
Exactly. It makes the other person feel genuinely seen, genuinely remembered, which is rare. Now, to help master the most fundamental detail, remembering names, which so many people struggle with, he offers this simple mnemonic. It's based on the instructions on a shampoo bottle. Lather, rinse, repeat.
Ha! I like that. Simple. Lather, rinse, repeat. But for names, it translates to listen, repeat, reply. Okay, let's break that down. Where do most people mess this up?
Almost everyone fails at step one. Listen, it sounds obvious, but think about it. When someone introduces themselves, what are most people doing? 95% of the time, their mind isn't quiet and focused on receiving the name. They're busy thinking about what they're going to say next, or worrying about how they look, or trying to sound smart. So the sound comes in, but the name doesn't actually register. It doesn't stick.
Okay, so step one is crucial.
Yeah.
Actually quiet your internal chatter for that split second and receive the name. Let it land. Then step two, repeat. That's about confirming it.
Yes, engage with the name immediately. Ask for clarification. Something simple like, Stephen. Did you say Steve or Stephen? That repetition helps lock it in your own mind. Plus, it signals to the other person, hey, I actually heard you. I care enough to get it right.
Right. And then finally, step three, reply. This is where you create a mental hook, some kind of association.
That's it. You need to make the name sticky.
He suggests three main tactics here. One, you can spell it out, especially if it's unusual. Stephen is that with a V or a PH, creates a visual anchor. Two, use a compliment or a visual hook. Jacob. Jacob with the cool V-neck associates the name with something concrete you see. Or 3, use a connector. Oh, Stephen. I know another Stephen who works in tech. Links the new name to an existing pathway in your brain. The goal is just to attach something memorable to the name so it's not just floating sound. Now, look, all these skills are great reading people, influencing, remembering details, but they're pretty useless if you're too afraid to actually use them. And the single biggest roadblock for most people, it boils down to the fear of rejection, fear of failure.
Yeah, that fear can be absolutely paralyzing. And to deal with it, the mentalist apparently developed this, well, really interesting psychological strategy. He basically created a separate persona, the entertainer. And that persona's job was specifically to take the hit, to absorb the sting when things went wrong. It's a fascinating mental trick, yeah. The idea is that his core self, Oz Pearlman, the person, stays protected, insulated from the emotional pain of failure. So if the audience doesn't laugh at a joke or a demonstration doesn't quite land, it wasn't him they rejected. It wasn't his intelligence or worth. They just didn't connect with the entertainer in that moment. It lets him compartmentalize the failure and, crucially, try again almost immediately without carrying all that emotional baggage.
Wait a second, though. Isn't that kind of fake? Are we suggesting that you, the listener, need to invent some alter ego every time you have to make a tough phone call or give a presentation?
Okay, maybe alter ego sounds a bit dramatic. It's less about being inauthentic and more about setting up psychological boundaries. Think of it like having a professional self or a performance identity. It's a mental shield. It allows you to take necessary risks, maybe receive criticism, without letting it pierce your fundamental sense of self-worth. It's really a tool for resilience, not deception.
Okay, framed like that, like mental armor or psychological judo against your own insecurities, that makes more sense. He also shared a very practical trick, a psychological hack, really, for beating procrastination, which often comes down to dreading a difficult task, right? Like delivering bad news or making that cold call you've been putting off.
Yes, the procrastination trick. It's clever. It involves tricking your own perception of future dread. When you're facing that task you really don't want to do, you ask yourself one simple question. How will I feel tomorrow about having gotten this done?
So you're mentally fast-forwarding past the unpleasantness.
Exactly. Right now, staring at the task, it might feel like a 9 or 10 on the dread scale. Huge, awful. But when you honestly project forward to tomorrow after it's done, you realize the lingering feeling will probably be minimal, maybe a 2 or 3 out of 10. Just relief, probably. By visualizing that massive drop in stress after completion, your brain kind of gets tricked. It realizes the short-term pain of doing it is actually much less than the ongoing pain of avoiding it. And that can motivate you to just do it now.
That's a neat trick. And underlying all these strategies, all these techniques, is this bedrock requirement of commitment. He calls it obsession, really. Success at that level, whether you're an entrepreneur, an athlete, a performer, it's rarely just luck. It seems to be about manifesting goals through this intense, singular, daily focus.
Oh, absolutely. The visible performance, whether it's on a stage or in a boardroom negotiation, that's often just the tip of the iceberg.
Yeah.
Like 1% inspiration, 99% perspiration.
Yeah.
Right? The real work is the preparation, the constant refinement, the obsession. Finding deep passion for it makes that consistent daily grind feel less like work and more like, well, purpose. That's what fuels success long term. Hashtag tag out trend.
Okay, so let's try and pull this all together. What are the big takeaways here? The core habits from this deep dive into a mentalist's mindset seem to be: 1, focus outward. Make it about the other person, always. 2, embrace intense preparation. Plan A through Z. 3, master the small things, those tiny personal details, because they have disproportionate impact. And 4, use these psychological tricks on yourself even to prioritize action over just waiting for inspiration.
Yeah, and maybe the final layer that ties all of this together is the conscious, meticulous control of attention. This is central to mentalism. The core idea is where your focus goes, their focus follows. If you're distracted, looking down at notes constantly, checking your phone, glancing away nervously, you break that connection. You splinter their attention. By controlling your own focus, by being present, you guide their attention. You control the narrative. And in a way, you can actually help edit their memory of the interaction. You subtly guide them away from the awkward bits, maybe, and magnify the moments of connection, the moments where they felt understood.
Wow, that ability to kind of curate someone else's memory of an interaction. That feels like the ultimate form of influence, really. It makes you think the work of a mentalist, when it's done ethically and well, it's really about keeping people's minds open, keeping them curious. Maybe the biggest loss we face as we get older is becoming cynical, losing that sense of wonder we had as kids. These techniques, in a way, seem designed to bring some of that wonder back into everyday human connection.
So maybe here's the final thought to leave you with. Considering that memory is so malleable and that where you direct your attention powerfully influences what others remember about you. What seemingly tiny, insignificant detail about your daily work or maybe your relationships are you currently overlooking? A detail that, if you consciously chose to notice it, remember it, and maybe bring it up later, could create one of those memorable moments that genuinely shifts someone's perspective of you, maybe even opens up a future possibility. It really makes you think about what you choose to pay attention to, and therefore what you choose to help others remember.